ನನ್ನ ಪತ್ರಿಕೆ ಬಂದು ಮೈನರ್ ಡೈನೆಸ್ಟೀಸ್ ಕಾಂಟೆಂಪರರಿ ಟು ದಿ ಅರ್ಲಿ ಕದಂಬಾಸ್ ಅಂತ ಇದೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮೈನರ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಟ್ರೂ.
Of the references to the early ancient script, language, literature and culture of Karnataka were initiated from the period of early Kadambas. Early Kadambas ruled independently from about the 4th to the 6th century over western parts of the lower Deccan, covering the modern states of Karnataka and Goa. The period following the decline of the Shatavahanas presents an interesting scenario in the history of southern India. Between the 3rd and 6th centuries, several smaller political entities of regional significance like Vakatakas, Ikshvakus, Anandas, Vishtukundins, Salankayanas, Mauryas, Nalas, early Pallavas, Chutus, Kadambas, Gangas, etc. figured in the Deccan during this period. These polities seems to have enjoyed a time of relatively peaceful existence despite conflicts on a smaller scale. The Mayura Sharma, the founder of the Kadamba dynasty, emerged from existence after clashing with the early Pallavas on the issue of the supremacy of Kshatriya Vritti over Brahma Vritti, as he was insulted at Kanchi by the Pallavas cavalry and did not get justice. He decided to fight war. He succeeded in defeating the Pallava frontier guards and established himself at Sri Parvata region, most probably the present day Chittadurga region of Karnataka. Sri Parvata is more or less, I feel, Chittadurga region, but there is different opinions are there. That is different. The Pallava king accepted as king over territory existing from the western ocean to the Prehara country. He now changed his surname Sharma to the Varma, indicating the Brahmana caste, to the Varma indicating Kshatriya caste. In the beginning, as many other contemporary minor dynasties like Banas, Gangas, Mutturayars, Kodamballur chiefs, Cholas of Urayur and Renadu, Adigamas and the Kadambas began their feudatoryship with early Pallavas of Kanchi in South India. But within a short span of time, Kadambas became independent. Early Kadambas, commonly known as the Kadambas of Banavasi, were a significant dynasty of Karnataka's indigenous rulers. Samudragupta's southern expedition appears to have led the Pallavas to join forces with smaller regional and aspiring political forces like Kadambas. It seems that soon after Samudragupta's return, the Pallavas legitimized the Kadamba clan to rule over the western part of what is now Karnataka. Simultaneously, the Pallavas also installed, this is more important, the Pallavas also installed the Kongu Gangas in the Kolar region as buffer to counter the possible future threat from the Kadambas and also from their allies, the Banas, who were earlier Pallavas' most obedient vassal and protectors of the northwest frontiers of the Pallava kingdom. As said above, the Pallava king accepted the Mayura Sharmas as king over territory extending from the western ocean to the Prehara country. Consequently, Kadambas ruled independently from about the 4th to the 6th century over western parts of the lower Deccan, that is, covering the modern states of Karnataka and Goa, probably Chittadurga as their beginning point, which was the present day central Karnataka region. The following map shown there, it was published by the M.H. Krishna when he discovered the Chandravalli Shasna. Thorough study he made, and he made the map In this map, we will observe his neighbors and his contemporary dynasties, etc. The Chandravalli inscription of Kadamba Mayura Sharma itself provides a list of contemporary dynasties like Trekota, Abhira, Pallava, Pariyatra, Shakastana, Saindaka, Punata, and Mokari. However, recently the rereading of this inscription gave different opinion. However, I will not be discussing it here. However, it is clear that the dynasties mentioned were contemporary to the early Kadambas. In that factor, no problem, because they are contemporaries of Kadambas. Although the surface of the Chandravalli inscription is very rough, the earlier reading was taken by the expert scholar Dr. M.H. Krishna in about 90 years ago. At the time, the visibility of the inscription is superior than today. He also discussed the issue of language of inscription in the annual report of the Mysore Archaeological Department in a very detailed manner. Therefore, we should consider this issue carefully. I included them here as well as contemporary dynasties as seen by the earlier scholars. Then, Trekutas. According to him, Trekuta is depicted in the Chandravalli inscription. Trekuta is a kingdom that extended from the vicinity of Bombay to Surat, including South Gujarat and the northern part of the Maratha region. Trekuta inscriptions have been discovered in Kaneri, north of Bombay, and Pardi, 80 kilometers south of Surat. The Trekuta era began sometime around 249 CE, Common Era. Actually, which was in the northwest direction of the Kadamba country. It is in the northwest direction that Trekuta is there. Abhira was a country to the south of Trekuta, and inscriptions of Abhira dynasty have been found in Nasik and located to the lower west of Kadamba country. The Trekuta era mentioned above is considered to be the same as the Abhira era founded in 249 CE. Before that date, however, two Abhira kings, at least, namely Ishwarasena and Aishwarasena of Nasik inscription and Ishwaradatta appears to have existed. As there has been some doubt that the Abhira and the Trekuta dynasties were not identical. The mention of the two kingdoms separately in the Chandravalli inscription is remarkable. Then Pallava, in the east portion Pallava, because he is nominated by the Pallavas only, is it? Pallava, the connection of Pallavas with the rise of Mayura Sharma has been described in the Talagunda inscription of Shantivarma. The Pallava country at this time stretched over the eastern part of Deccan, including the Kanchi and Amaravati areas. In the process of establishing the Kadamba principality, the Pallavas also installed the Kongu Gangas in the Kolar region as a buffer to counter the possible future threat from the Kadambas and also from their allies, the Banas, who were earlier Pallavas' most obedient vassals and protectors of the northwest frontiers of Pallava kingdom. Saindrikas. The fact that most of the Saindrika inscriptions came from the western and northwestern parts of the Karnataka leads to the conclusion that the dynasty was in its earlier days probably occupying the southern frontiers of the Konkana, their country existing from the north of the Punnata to the south of Abhira. Sendraka has been usually identified with the Nagarakanda country to have belonged. As the Sendrakas were defeated by Mayuravarman Thus, they were part of his predators. Then Punnata. Punnata or Punnad, the area between river Kaveri and Kabini, was considered as one of the ancient Punnata kingdom. Its capital of Kirtipura or Kittur in Eggadadevanakote taluk of Mysore district. Punnata kings were in power in the region, were defeated by Mayuravarma, hence they serving as predatory to the Kadambas. It is difficult to believe that the Mayura Sharma conquered the Pariyatrika, Chakastana and Mokari regions, as they were far away from his actual ruling area. It appears that this may be just a sign of the current political system. However, here a brief description of them is given below. Pariyatra or Pariyatrikas. Pariyatrika is the country to the north of Kadamba region, which is near the mountain Pariyatra mentioned in the Nashik inscription of Balasiri, and described as one of the 7 Kulak Shailas or great mountains in Sanskrit tradition. This mountain has been usually identified with the western part of the Vindhya range, west of Bhopal, but on the evidence of Yuan Sang, we are led to think that the Pariyatra or Paliatol was a prosperous country situated 500 leagues west of Mathura and 800 leagues southwest of Shatadru. For this reason, Waters has identified it with Bairat to the northeast of Ajmer and the Aravali hills. The only conclusion we can come to is that the Pariyatra's country extended from the western Indias to the west of Mathura, including the Aravali hills, and it was thus to the north of the Trekota country. Then Chakastana. Chakastana has been commonly taken as synonymous for Seatan in South Baluchistan, but it is known that the Shakas were in occupation of Gujarat and West Malwa until they were conquered the Gupta emperor. Chandragupta II Vikramaditya about Common Era 400. Here the word Shakastana may be considered to refer to this country, a part of which perhaps separated the Trekuta and Pariyatra areas. Mokari is the country near the town of Gaya in South Bihar, whose territory might at this time have extended farther south, its western neighbor being probably Pariyatra and the southern neighbor the Pallava Empire. In Kadamba inscriptions, we obtain references of some other dynasties too. Kalabra in Almidi inscription, Alupas in Almidi and Guddapur inscriptions, Bana or Bruhat Banas, Guptas and Vakatas in Talagunda inscription, Ganga in Talagunda inscription of Batari Kakusta, Tunga Ganga in Alusi plates of Mrigesha Varma, Ichwakus in Anaji stone inscription of Sivananda Varma of KKA family, Kongalwa in Guddapur inscription of Ravi Varma. Here, a brief notices of the above dynasties are given below. Calaboras in Almidi inscription it is called Kalabora. Kalabra dynasty, also called Kallupura or Kalvar, were rulers of all or parts of Tamil region sometime between the 3rd century and 6th century Common Era. Information about the origin and reign of the Kalabra is uncertain and scarce. It is believed by historians that the Kalabras belonged to the community of warriors who were possibly once the feudatories of the ancient Cholas and Pallavas. These are our assumptions. Their proposed routes vary from southeast region of modern Karnataka. This point is very important. Their origin is from south, actually from Bengaluru, north portion, Karnataka. There in Nandi and its surrounding areas called as Kalvara Nadu. In the later inscriptions, it is defined as Kalvara Nadu. And Tamil scholars like V. Venkaya are all telling that Kalvaras of ancient Kalvas are the Kalabras, who were in the Vodagavali area in earlier stage. Later they entered the Tamil Nadu and this Kalabra, that is what we call Kalabra integram something is there. That is the intention. It is a dark period for them. But the origin is from Nandi area. They moved to the Vodagavali area. That means the northern portion of the Tamil Nadu, that is not Karnataka, and Chittur area region, and gradually went to the southern areas like that. Alupa or Alupas. Alupas ruled over the Western Ghats region. This dynasty and its kings are referred to in writings of Ptolemy, the Greek geographer. Almedi inscription of the 5th century, Guddapur inscription of Kadamba Ravi Verma, it indicates that it was possibly known as Alvakeda 6,000 and Udayavaram was its capital. Their royal emblem was the double-crested fish. They had matrimonial relations with Kadambas and also vassals of Kadambas. Brihadbana or Badas. Brihadbana, Perbanas in Tamil it is called as Perbana. In Brihadbana in Sanskrit, but they are nothing but Banas. The Banas, who were earlier Pallavas' most obedient vassal, protectors of the northwest frontier of the Pallava kingdom. That is more important. They are protecting the northwest frontier of the area. But these, our Mayura Sharma went to Kanchi and quarreled with them and took the Banas with them. This is a great shock to the Pallavas. Because of that, the Pallavas arranged the Kongunattu Rajar cult, that is Kongini Varma, Dharma Maharaja put in the Kolar region to kick out the Banas from that area. The same thing he had did. Gangas did the same thing. They thrown away the Banas towards north. Finally they settled in Karapa and Anantpur region. But in later stage they helped the Pulikesi and all those things are there. That is different. And the Banas, who were earlier Pallavas, most obedient vassals and protectors of the northern frontiers, who controlled the territory which included the districts of Kolar, Chikkaballapur and Bengaluru in Karnataka, Tiruvallam, Vanapuram, Mahabalipuram in Tamil Nadu, and Kadapa, Gudiballam in Andhra Pradesh. The earliest references to these Banas is found in Talagunda inscription of Kakustavarma, Talagunda inscription of the Kakustavarma's son, wherein it is stated that the Kadamba king levied many taxes upon the great Banas. The record is assigned to the 5th century Common Era, which means that from the middle of the 5th century itself, the Banas held sway over several regions. Vikramaditya's great grandfather Nandivarma, Jayanandivarma, one of the Bana king, started to have been governing the country to the west of the Andhra region as well as the Pallava Nandivarma. So far as Anantapur district is concerned, it is stated that in the past this area had been a part of the Banavadi or Brihat Banavadi with Parigai or Parige near Indupur as its capital. In fact, it has been referred to Parige Vishaya over which the Banas were ruling. The Guptas. The Gupta Empire was an Indian empire during the classical period of Indian subcontinent, which existed from the mid 3rd century to the 6th century CE. At its zenith, the dynasty ruled over an empire that spanned much of the northern Indian subcontinent. This period has been considered as the golden age of India by historians, although this characterization has been disputed by some other historians. The ruling dynasty of the empire was founded by Guptas. And Vakatakas, and several more things are there on Guptas. It is a very big empire, and their contribution to India is more. Not necessary to elaborate here. Vakatakas. Vakatakas rose to power in the third quarter of the fourth, 3rd century to the 6th century. The Ajanta record expressly mentioned Vindhya Shakti as a founder of family and the father of the illustrious emperor Pravarasena I. It was somewhere in Berar in western Madhya Pradesh that Vindhya Shakti first carved out a small principality. Vindhya Shakti was a Brahmin of Vishnukundi, Vishnuvarshi Gotra. Some mistake is there. This was not, however, the first time that Brahmins had exchanged sacrificial implements for weapons of war. The Sungas, the Kanvas, the Shatavahanas had done the same a few centuries earlier, and the Kadambas were soon to emulate the example of the Vakatakas according to the Ajanta inscription in cave number 6. King Vindhyasena attacked Kuntala and conquered it. After this victory, the Vakatakas declared themselves as the lords of Kuntala. Gangas. The Ganga dynasty, 350 to 1000. Originally, the Gangas were Pallavas' most obedient vassals. That fact we should. They were in the Kongunadu, or the Kongu area. They were most obedient to Pallavas. Vassals and protectors of the southeastern frontiers of Pallava kingdom. That is the Kongunadu area. This dynasty founded by Kongani Varma. He was known as Dharma Mahadiraja, and this was an important governing dynasty in ancient Karnataka known as the Western Gangas, who were positioned by the Pallavas in Kolar region as said earlier, buffer against Kadambas as well as Banas despite being a minor kingdom in terms of territory. The Western Gangas has made significant contribution to the government, culture and literature of contemporary South Karnataka. The Western Ganga monarchs were friendly to all faiths but are most known for their sponsorship of Jainism, which resulted in the erection of monuments in sites like Saravana and Kambadalli, etc. Because the rulers of this dynasty supported the beautiful arts, Kannada, Prakrit and Sanskrit literature thrived. Tunga Ganga. Tunga Ganga means the same Ganga dynasty which refers to the Ganga army. Tunga Ganga actually refers to the Ganga army. So Ganga Balam, Gangam Balam, as consisted of several elephants, horses and foot soldiers, and herein also the word Tunga is used. But it says that the Ganga king was means of victory through the command of the lords of Kanchi. Ikshwakus. The Ikshwaku dynasty ruled in the eastern Krishna river valley from their capital at Vijayapura, the modern Nagarjunakonda in Andhra Pradesh, for over a century during 3rd and 4th centuries. The Ikshvakus are also known as Ikshvakus of Vijaypuri to distinguish them from their legendary namesakers, the Ikshvakus of Kosala. The Ikshvakus kings were Shaivites and performed Vedic rites, but Buddhism also flourished during their reign. Several Ikshvaku queens and princes contributed to the construction of Buddhist monuments at present day Nagarjuna Konda. By the mid of the 4th century, the Pallavas has gained control of the former Ikshvaku territory, and the Ikshvaku's rulers may have been reduced to vassal status. Finally, Kongalvas. Kongalvas were referred to in the Gudnapur inscription of Ravivarma, along with Ganga, Punnata, Pandya and Alupas, indicating that he has conquered them. This is the earliest reference to the Kongalvas, who truly ruled the southern part of Assam and Coorg districts in the later years. This is my identification of smaller dynasties in the time of Kadambas.